y'all doing, beautiful people? This is your girl, Blue Nola, back in the building with another reading. I hope all is well in your world. So today we got some really, really sad news. Euphoria star Angus passed away at the very young age of 25. I'm looking at People magazine. Super young, super talented, very likable, and even on the show, very likable. Actually, his character on Euphoria almost kind of mirrored his character in real life in some way, right? I remember like watching him doing an interview with Rolling Stone, and they were asking him had he ever quit a job before, and he's like, yeah, I just called and said, yeah, I ain't coming in today, I ain't coming in tomorrow, F you, right? Just straight up like that. And he just had this cool energy. You know, we as black people like, that's a cool ass white boy, right? So it just kind of hits a little bit different because he just seems so young and just so cool. So if you are triggered by me discussing this topic, if you're triggered by me pulling a few cards on this topic, I'm going to ask you to tap out today. Come back, right? Because this is not for everybody. A lot of people want to know, though, like what happened. Now, as we know, his dad just passed last week. His family confirmed that he was struggling with his dad's death and that he also was very vocal about his mental health. So you can assume, you can surmise, you can kind of wonder maybe, you know, what happened. But today we're just going to pull some messages around kind of like the energy leading up to it. I will tell you, losing a parent is one of the hardest things I've ever gone through in my life, personally. And it can make you or break you, right? It can make you feel like why are you here? Because the attachment that you had to that person that you have the most, that connection with, is now gone, right? So it is a huge struggle for people. People, believe it or not, struggle with suicide tendencies when it comes to a loss of a parent or a loved one. Not saying that happened to him, but we're going to pull some messages and kind of see. So what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do, I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose, but we're going to pull some messages that are going to be related to his mental health, right? I know, again, he was very vocal about it, but we're going to pull some message of spirit around Angus Cloud, 25, just passed away, his mental health. Say he wasn't in a good place, right? World shattered. Life no longer the way it is. Conflicts and struggles. And he had a tower moment. Now, they may say to us, I'm just saying, they may say to us that it was in an accidental situation. The reason why I'm saying that initially, before I start going into anything else, is because he has tower energy here. And that tower energy could represent something that he was struggling, he lost his direction, and they can try to classify it. I say they try to classify it as something that could have been accidental, unintentional, right? Especially with his tower aspects here. Tower could represent someone who was fallen. Tower could represent somebody who had an accident. Tower represents someone who, their body shuts down. This is what this represents. This could also represent a person who could have been found in some way, right? So this is what it talks about. Was he struggling? Hell yes. He is the Lover's card, the World card, the Tower card, all major messages around his health, his mental health, his state of mind. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose. We're reading. This is for entertainment purposes only. But this is what it talks about. His father passing, lost of direction. I'm going to say this too. In his Seven of Cups, this could represent a person who's been lost even before his dad got sick, his dad died, etc., etc. If you've been following me on Instagram, I did post something in the story related to how I've always felt that he was kind of like this, like, even as likable as he was, I always saw it. Is this guy gonna be here when he's 45? Like he gives me the energy of a stoner guy who's kind of just, just moving through life leisurely, right? But in his Seven of Cups energy, that could represent for him someone who's had already lost their way, had already, easily taken off track and being in diversion energy, meaning just kind of, again, off his path. Conflict energy, feeling a sense of emptiness, home conflict, just feeling like his home life has fallen apart, and struggle. He has a lot of struggles here, right? And the only thing that I can see here too, not only thing, but what I see here too, struggles that he couldn't overcome. When you look at these messages here, that really make you feel like a person who's kind of fighting and then giving up, and then fighting and giving up. That's what it kind of gives you the energy. His family's here supporting him and loving him, but sometimes when people are in the space that they're in, they have to want to fight for themselves. So let's start with the Lover's card here. This could represent somebody who, in his situation for Angus, where they're going to come in and they're going to provide some insight, almost like he went to the hospital, or he would possibly could have already been passed and went to the hospital, and then a second doctor came, and that second doctor could be the doctor from the mortuary or whatever inside of the hospital. There's going to be something like they're going to give us the discovery around his death. That's what that talks about, right? So that's what it talks about. This does have something to do with his dad's passing, because this is a person who had a fear of separation from his dad. This could also represent a person who, again, was in a hard place. Notice the Seven of Cups: diversion, distraction, loss of direction. The Lover's card also someone who's in conflict, disharmony, right? World card energy, someone who's kind of all over a place, in trouble. So this is like somebody who is in trouble. The trouble for me, even though I do feel like he's been struggling for months and possibly years, his trouble and his energy is like the last 1 to 4 weeks. He struggle. Even in his Five of Cups, even in his Five of Wands, that represents a struggle. So there's struggle here. He has if you look at these cards, he has a lot of struggle aspects that are in there. He also has the World card as one of his health cards as well. And that World card could also represent a person who mentally was struggling as well. The World card has a lot to do with a person who is out of balance with their mental health. Okay, that's what that talks about. And then, of course, with the Tower, that can represent somebody who again, they can consider this something that was accidental. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing. Again, I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose. A woman shows up in his energy as having been the one, or someone in the family having been the one to have discovered this here. This is something almost like you could, they may say he possibly ingested something, because even with the World card, that could represent something that's in his body. Okay, it's not set in stone. But it could be something that he was either prescribed or not prescribed that was actually in his body. Okay, that's what it talks about. But I would say to you, like, the struggle for this man was actually really real. And again, they may classify this somehow as something that's accidental in his when they finally come out with the, how TMZ comes out 2 months later and says, exclusive information. He did this, this happened, that happened, right? Give me the energy again around Angus Cloud and where he was in his life. Did he have any hope for the future? Like, was he just, it's a lot of that, reverse energy for him. Give me the energy around Angus Cloud. And he has the Six of Wands. I know Euphoria is supposed to be coming back on. Not soon enough, huh? Too slow. His Four of Swords. His Queen of Swords. His Six of Pentacles. His Five of Pentacles. His Eight of Swords. His Sun card. And then he has the Seven of Swords here. And I'll pull one more, right? As much as he had success, right? This is his card of success. He was really if you ever paid attention to his interviews and stuff that he was talking about, he was like an everyday guy. Like, even though I have this success, I'm an everyday guy, and I'm just like everybody else. That talks about his success was there, but it wasn't enough for him, right? To me, this almost represents a person who was happy to be a part of that, have success, but also loving to have his, pull himself back and have that space, be with his family, his friends. He does have some cards here that, like I was saying, that, is very interesting and of course, you know, as you're reading your messages and feeling them intuitively, you want to, you know, combine them together. But his Four of Swords for him represents mourning after physical death, right? His Queen of Swords represents prediction of death. And then he has actually the Seven of Swords here. The Seven of Swords just, again, represents somebody who was thinking about something and changed their mind and thinking about it. So again, even though they may classify it as accidental, it may not be so accidental, whatever happened to him. And then, of course, in his Eight of Swords energy as well, the Eight of Swords actually represents he feels free. So I know a lot of people don't agree with certain things, but he's free, right? He's free. Even in his Five of Pentacles energy, that could represent a person who's finally feeling like, you know, that person feels spiritually free in some way. So his family, of course, devastated. His family shows up in his energy as being completely you know, of course, just losing a dad, now losing him. This feels like, you know, a lot of devastation. But also his family comes up with a lot of energy around, almost like they seen it coming too, right? They seen like he was struggling. And this is their first time seeing him struggle. In his Six of Pentacles here, again, that Six of Pentacles is someone who's been attached to certain ideas and thoughts for a long time, over a period of time, where that struggle has been real for them. So definitely this feels like they're going to need some time to really recover from this. They're going to, not that you will ever recover from this, but this talks about having time to recover and try to understand it, etc., etc. They do feel he's gone too soon. Of course, he's 25 years old. This, you know, has so much to live for. Only if he could have made it another day, he would have been okay, right? But again, he does have some messages here that represent, like, you know, he wasn't in a good place. And, you know, again, one of those messages can and does represent in his Queen of Swords energy, prediction of death. Okay. Confirm the energy again around Angus Cloud Spirit. Confirm the energy around Angus Cloud. I don't feel, and I'm going to say this too, and I'm going to, after I do this, and I don't feel that he was in poor health, like he had like a health, like, you know, it's not like, you know how somebody was saying something, like, you know, sometimes people will have an aneurysm or they'll have a stroke, you know, something, because his health messages, as far as his actual health, that comes up, his physical health, that comes up fine, right? Even his World card, his Sun card, as far as his health is concerned, they come up fine. Even him as the Knight of Wands, he comes up fine. His Four of Wands, he comes up fine. I'm talking about physical and mental, and that mental that leads you to depression and anxiety and stress that can lead you down another path, that's different. So the way I'm reading this, it almost feels like physically he felt strong, right? He felt like a strong person. Like he didn't have any like real health conditions, if you will, but you know, physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, that's the thing that I'm seeing. Okay, I do feel like they're going to have a nice service for him. This represents having a really nice service. I definitely feel like, I'm not saying it's going to be open to the public, but there's something about like almost like being able to allow the public to celebrate his life too in some way. So his death definitely is tied to a struggle around mental health, and mental health that led to something else. They definitely feel like they may say that it was something that was accidental, or something that, you know, that he probably didn't mean to do. It definitely shows that he had been struggling in the last 1 to 4 weeks leading into it. I definitely feel like his family saw him struggling as well. I don't feel like there are any real surprises here, right? Other than the fact that he's so young, he's 25, and he had a lot of life to live. And I think that he has found in his Eight of Swords energy a certain amount of freedom and peace with it. All right. Sometimes, you know, when people are very much so under a lot of stress, and you know, certain ideas, certain tendencies, they're struggling. Sometimes, you know, in families and people, even though you want to see them live their life out and win, sometimes people, you know, be like, damn, you know, he's finally at peace, right? So that's what that represents. I would love to just send my condolences out to his family and his fans. I definitely followed him, over, a period of time. I think the first interview that he did for me was the one time I was like, who is this guy? He did this interview where he was talking and he was just like, yes, no, maybe so, I don't know. And I'm like, who is this? Like, who is this guy? He made me feel even at that time he was under influence, that he was basically just in and out, just kind of floating around even at that time. But I always liked his energy. He was very genuine and straightforward. He always just reminded me of this cool guy, just like a cool guy. He could have easily played Mac Miller. Easily played Mac Miller. He will be missed. And I'm sure, it's amazing how art can can duplicate life, He played, a character. I remember when he was getting into the car one time, somebody asked him, was he going to play Miller? And he was like, he just shut the door, right? He was like, I'm not trying to deal with all that. But I just wanted to send his family condolences and, more stuff. Of course, we'll hear about more stuff and struggles over time. You may even hear something about somebody else being involved in some way because, a lot of times people, where are they getting things from? There's a rabbit hole there. We can always revisit that at a later date, but I just wanted to say his health, his mental health, his dad, and everything that he's been going through has led him where he is today, regardless of whoever else was involved. I don't feel like it was foul play or anything like that. I definitely feel like it was of his own doing, if you will. Okay? So I'm out of here. Take care, stay blessed, encourage, and empower. You can always drop in the comment section any questions you have. How is Euphoria gonna deal with this situation, Spirit? To show Euphoria, how are they going to deal with this? Are they going to? Yeah, there's up here. There's like strategizing now. It almost feels like they may mention it. I don't think they're going to do a whole scene and situation behind it. It almost feels like right now it's too early to talk about it or discuss it. Because he definitely was written into the next season. That Ace of Swords talks about. He was supposed to be a part of the original, the thing that comes, the show that comes back now. That has to change. I don't think they're, especially with everybody being so blindsided by this, I don't think they're going to make a big long thing of it. I think they're going to probably kind of write it in a way that, he probably, he just, he moved on. But there's a lot of disarray around how that's going to look for them right now. That Nine of Cups, just like how we don't want to, we don't want to offend, we don't want to disrespect. Similar to the readings, you don't want to offend, you don't want to disrespect, but you do have to close it out. And even in your Seven of Cups, that also represents, how are we going to close this character out and be respectful. So this just shows in their messages. They're going to try to figure it out. They will figure it out in their Nine of Cups energy. I'm sorry, Page of Cups energy. And that talks about they will come to some type of creative way to, bring the character on out. Euphoria may have a hard time too. When you see some of those cards, that Ace of Swords energy, that could even represent Euphoria. Because I know I really wasn't that interested in the show, but I heard that the show had a lot of energy. Show had a lot of content around drug use. I'm sure, if they were creative, they would address it in a creative way, right? Where it would be a teachable moment versus just kind of try to quiet it down. So that Page of Cups could represent something creative coming out of it. Hopefully they go that direction of creativity, because if that Page of Cups could represent them coming through with a way to, to have a teachable moment versus just letting it just fizzle on out. But that show may not, just like when Takeoff, died. When the minute, Offset was trying to talk about guns, or Curry was saying something about a gun, they was jumping on him. You got to be careful with that, because people ain't going to be taking too kindly to that. So I don't know how this, will this show continue on? How long will this show continue? Because their show is heavily in that King of Cups. So that could even represent maybe a season, maybe two. Euphoria, and then they out of there, right? Because, you know, this, and when it comes out what happened to him, right? They can also be like, that's a negative look for the show, and the show breeds negative, you know, ideas and puts negative ideas into teens' heads and children's heads. And look at what happened to him. You know, he's a part of the show, but this also is a person who already has some struggles and challenges too. But that can also hurt their show, because that show is, from what I heard, there's a lot of, you know, discussion around and situations around drug use. So, all right, y'all, take care, stay blessed, encouraged, and empowered. Mr. Angus Cloud, rest in power. Great energy. And I'm glad that you're with your dad. Take care, guys. Stay blessed, encouraged, and empowered.